The silence in the Yamaha garage on Saturday morning was shattered not by an engine, but by a rumor that would soon destabilize every pre-race prediction in the paddock. As official practice sessions commenced at the Bugatti circuit, veteran technical analysts noticed an immediate shift in the acoustic signature of the YZR M1. The aggressive, jagged roar of the experimental V4, a project Yamaha had championed as their Ducati killer, had vanished. In its place was the smooth, high-pitched hum of the legacy Inline-Four power plant. Reports surfaced that just hours before the sprint race, managing director Lynn Jarvis had authorized an emergency reversal, pulling the multi-million-dollar V4 project from active duty. This was more than a set-up change, it was a staggering admission of a developmental crisis. Rival team principals from Ducati and KTM were seen hovering near the Yamaha shutters, attempting to confirm if the Japanese giant had truly abandoned its future to survive its present. The atmosphere was thick with a frantic, almost desperate energy as mechanics worked through the dawn to remap electronics for a chassis they hadn't raced in months. For the French fans gathered at Le Mans, the spectacle wasn't just on the track, but in the political turmoil of a factory team at war with its own innovation. The decision sent shockwaves through the 2026 championship standings, signaling that the silver bullet Yamaha promised had instead become a source of internal chaos. To understand this retreat, one must analyze the unique physics of Toprak Razgatlioglu, a rider whose staggering braking force has pushed the V4 project to its absolute breaking point. Since his high-profile move into MotoGP, the Turkish sensation has struggled to translate his world-class stoppy style into the rigid demands of a V4 configuration. Deep research into the 2026 telemetry reveals a fundamental rift. The V4's engine braking and weight bias were effectively pushing the front tire beyond its thermal limits during deceleration. For a rider who relies 100% on front-end feel to initiate his signature aggressive turns, the V4 was a wild and unpredictable partner. During Friday's practice, Toprak was observed in heated exchanges with his crew chief, pointing frantically at data monitors that showed a lack of stability in the high-speed Bugatti chicanes. The technical tension was visible. Toprak's body language suggested a rider who no longer trusted the machine beneath him. In the world of professional racing, a lack of confidence is more dangerous than a lack of power. If the bike refuses to stop according to the rider's instinct, a heavy high-speed incident becomes an inevitability rather than a risk. Yamaha's decision to revert to the Inline-Four was in many ways a rescue mission for Toprak's season. By returning to a chassis with a more forgiving weight distribution, the team hoped to restore the braking monster's ability to attack the apex, even if it meant sacrificing the raw top-end speed they had fought so hard to gain. The pursuit of raw horsepower has led Yamaha into a poison chalice scenario, where the quest to match Ducati's 360 km/h top speeds has decimated the bike's legendary handling DNA. For the past 18 months, the narrative in the Yamaha camp was dominated by Fabio Quartararo's public ultimatums, demanding a V4 engine to compete with the European manufacturers. The factory responded by accelerating a development cycle that usually spans years into a frantic, high-pressure sprint. This V4 paradox created a machine that was a rocket on the straights but a liability in the corners. At Le Mans, the data surfaced a troubling reality. While the V4 was approaching record-breaking top speeds, it was losing significant time in the stop-and-go sectors. The bike's aero package, designed for the V4's high-velocity stability, struggled to provide the necessary downforce during the quick directional changes required at the French circuit. Paddock whispers suggested that the electronics suite, the brain of the motorcycle, was failing to manage the torque delivery of the new engine, leading to inconsistent traction control intervention. This technical rift created a turmoil within the engineering team, with Japanese specialists and European consultants reportedly clashing over the project's direction. The decision to revert to the Inline-Four was a temporary ceasefire in this internal war, but it highlighted a staggering failure to harmonize modern power with traditional control. Yamaha found themselves in a position where their most advanced technology was being outperformed by the very outdated systems they were trying to replace. For Fabio Quartararo, the Le Mans Grand Prix was never just another race. It was a high-stakes audition in front of his home crowd that demanded absolute perfection. As the premier French rider, the weight of expectation is immense, and the instability of the V4 project had brought him to a breaking point of frustration. Insiders reported that Quartararo's feedback after the initial practice sessions was scathing, citing a total lack of front-end communication that made attacking the final sector impossible. This created a political storm for Yamaha management. Do they force their star rider to race a dangerous and unrefined prototype at his most important event, or do they retreat to the Inline-Four and admit the V4 isn't ready? The Paddock uproar that followed the engine swap was a testament to the gravity of this choice. By choosing the Inline-Four, Yamaha prioritized Fabio's safety and performance over the pride of their engineering department. The French rider's demeanor shifted instantly. The tension in his face was replaced by a focused calm during the sprint race simulation. He is a master of the Inline-Four's corner speed philosophy, and the return to this familiar architecture allowed him to showcase the smooth vibes and precision that defined his championship-winning years. However, this move was a double-edged sword. While it satisfied the home crowd and calmed the rider, it signaled to the world that Yamaha's 2026 development path was in a state of chaotic reassessment, leaving their long-term strategy in a state of total uncertainty. In a jaw-dropping twist of fate, the obsolete Inline-Four engine delivered a performance at Le Mans that has left technical analysts questioning the future of MotoGP engine philosophy. When the lights went out for the sprint race simulation, the lap times told a story of staggering efficiency. Both Toprak and Fabio were significantly faster through the technical sectors than they had been on the V4. The inline engine, known for its compact dimensions and lateral flexibility, allowed the riders to maintain a higher mid-corner velocity, effectively clawing back the time lost on the straights. This inline renaissance proved that in modern MotoGP, brute force is secondary to mechanical balance. Toprak, in particular, looked like a man reborn, standing the bike up with a stability that had been missing all season. The atmosphere in the garage was the calmest it had been in months, as the crew realized that the old bike was actually the superior racing tool for a circuit as technical as Bugatti. However, this success created a new kind of strain for the management. If the Inline-Four is still competitive, the justification for the massive investment in the V4 project begins to crumble. Some believe this wasn't just a tactical swap, but a moment of clarity that could lead Yamaha to develop a hybrid concept, combining V4 power with inline spec agility. As the riders crossed the line with competitive times, the expression of the engineers was a mix of relief and profound confusion. They had found their speed, but they had lost their roadmap. Yamaha now stands at a definitive crossroads that will determine the manufacturer's survival for the remainder of the 2026 season and beyond. The great V4 retreat at Le Mans was a tactical success but a strategic nightmare. While the Inline-Four saved their performance in France, the power deficit against Ducati and KTM remains a weight that will eventually return to haunt them on faster tracks like Mugello or Sepang. The team is now split between two identities, the legacy of handling and the necessity of power. Rumors suggest that contract negotiations for 2027 are already being impacted by this technical indecision, with riders and sponsors demanding a clear path forward. Is Yamaha's V4 project in a serious crisis, or was Le Mans simply a disputed advantage of the inline engine's suitability for a specific track? The answer will surface as the paddock moves into the summer break. If Yamaha continues to flip-flop between engine configurations, they risk a total collapse of their competitive edge. However, if they can use the data from this retreat to fix the V4 stability issues, they may yet engineer a true renaissance. The 2026 French Grand Prix will be remembered as the moment Yamaha stared into the abyss of its own innovation and chose to step back. Whether that step back provides the momentum for a greater leap forward remains the most mysterious and explosive narrative in the MotoGP world today. The lights may have gone out at Le Mans, but the fire of this controversy is only just beginning to burn.